Welcome to Change by Design, the podcast where we shine a spotlight on engineering transformation. I'm your host, Chad Jackson, and each week we dive deep with leaders driving real change in the world of engineering. From breaking down barriers to challenging the status quo to fostering cultures of innovation and resilience, our guests share their journeys, lessons learned, and actionable insights to help you become the catalyst for positive change in your organization. Whether you're an engineer, an executive, or simply passionate about making a difference, you're in the right place. Get ready to be inspired, empowered, and equipped to engineer a better future, one change at a time. Joseph Loren, thanks for joining the show today.
Well, thanks for having me, Chad. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So a really good, a place we often like to start is just to understand kind of what you're doing, who you work for, what are your responsibilities. So let's get going with that.
So the responsibilities, I'm the AI governance lead for a hospital at this point. So just transitioning over from the intelligence community, where I was leading their AI governance and assurance branch in their AI model accreditation program. So instantiating that. Segued pretty nicely into the healthcare career field. So they reached out. I took advantage of the opportunity to work fully remote, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit.
Yeah. It sounds like you went into a very quiet field with AI, right?
Yes.
Sarcasm included.
Just a little bit, right? So it has its moments.
Yeah, it has its moments. So talk to me a little bit about what's your career journey been to this point? I mean, obviously AI has blown up in the last few years, but back when you entered the workforce, maybe it wasn't a viable full-time thing. I don't know. You tell me.
So there's eclectic and there's whatever you define me as. I've been across the spectrum. I've worked road construction, logistics, photography, film, on commercials and movies. I mean, really the gamut. It started with the whole jumping into the intelligence community realistically with my joining of the Air Force as a cryptological linguist. Went there, did that whole thing, joined the mission set, started working the mission, realized I had a knack for integrating concepts, ideas, multi-source intelligence, be it data, be it other types of conversational intelligence, open source, what have you, integrating into a singular concept with some sort of algorithm. And that segued into me really getting into the statistical application or applied statistics, a little bit easier to say there. And that whole approach within the IC is very good. What of a better term? So IC, intelligence community. And it built from there. Working mission as a crypto linguist was definitely fun. I had a good time, worked with some great people there. Segued into allocating mission resources from various platforms, utilizing different types of formula, algorithms, tracking methodologies. And I actually did develop a program for getting out that utilized those concepts. And it was supposed to be my segue into the contractor workforce. Didn't work out that way. Was able to leverage all of that to get into like learning and development and helping train the next generation of Intel linguists to do what I'd done and utilize that whole applied statistics to improve learning and development for organizations, specifically the Air Force. But it was in a joint operations facility, so it facilitated an integrated approach for everyone. That led to the NGA. They reached out and said, well, at that time, it was Booz Allen that reached out, and they convinced me to move up to and help them out doing learning and development for the NGA. Again, it was one of those analyzing what was available, what value and ROI different solutions had for learning and development, and being able to track those milestones with quantitative figures. Because the qualitative aspect, everybody can say the learning and education does great things, but quantitatively, how can we demonstrate that? All of that built and culminated with the educational endeavors going into industrial organizational psychology, focusing on applied statistics. Took every stats class that was available, building that foundation out because I knew that being able to speak to it was only a fraction of the battle. Being able to actually demonstrate the efficiency and effectiveness of the solution utilizing quantitative data and output visualizations would have value. That segued into a role as a psychometrician with a GM professional certification program. So it was an accreditation program or certification program for the NGA, where I built out the formulas for tracking the assessments and the questions used therein, and then used that for organizational development. At that time, that was when data science, data science being dubbed data science back in 1999, 2000-ish, right?
Yeah.
Part of that was just applied statistics or business analytics. Delving into that IO psychs, that's what we do. We do applied statistics. The whole career field is applied statistics. So I've been doing that. The career field's been around for over 100 years, very mature. Leveraged that to jump right into the data science world and started doing those things. Built out the coding chops. Obviously, Python was all the rage. Called back upon my days of HTML back in, the late 90s, building websites and things of that nature. Built out a lot of fun little things. Some of them I can go into, most of them I can't. But it was a lot of fun. From the psychometrics, I jumped very heavily into the data science and data analytics. Transitioned to another organization, was their data science lead, did some really, really cool work with analyzing different organizational data, say the utilization of programs and resources for learning development or for production of the workforce, being able to argue for needing more people, needing fewer people, allocating individuals accordingly, those types of endeavors, to something more robust, such as resilience algorithm that me and my good friend Joe, so we were as my wife loved to dub, the Joe Bros, because that's what every guy my age wants to be called. Not to be confused with the Jonas Brothers, of course. But so in my basement, we built out this algorithm that integrated real-world infrastructure into a resilience model that overlaid with a digital twin, and would be able to prompt things such as emergency personnel, evacuations. We utilized the flooding in St. Louis, because this was around the 2018 timeframe. The flooding in St. Louis with levee failure due to oversaturation of the soil. We utilized that as our case study, and said, hey, this is what this would look like if you were to engage with the Army Corps of Engineers, and a bunch of data collection techniques and methodologies. Fantastically fun thing that we built out. And then, obviously, COVID that threw a wrench in things.
Sure. Yeah.
That's, at that point, is when I jumped into AI. They specifically leveraged my AI, or my understanding of data science, predictive analytics, the utilization of multi sources of information or intelligence to create the guardrails associated with AI and ML security. So I was brought on as the AI ML security SME, and they asked me to start architecting or looking into what AI ML security would look like. And this was 2019, 2020 proper. No one was thinking AI security at that time.
No.
I know, because I did a bunch of research and reached out to those prevalent in the field, and they basically were like, no, you're the first person to ever utter that in a single concept of AI security. So that was fun. Met a lot of great people, did a lot of interesting work there, building out what that looked like. Long story short, without data security, data governance, AI security is nothing. And then it just continued there. Did web analytics. When I came on board with the NGA proper, I was doing web analytics, led a team there. We standardized, looked at standardizing, started implementing a procedure to standardize the web data and how we did things, and analyze different metrics. Did a lot of cool work there, a lot of utilization of commercial off-the-shelves and government off-the-shelf solutions. And we were able to get the fidelity behind a number of things. And once again, got to call on those HTML chops way back in the day. Mostly JavaScript and Java. I understand that now, but it was a fun time. And then I dabbled in a variety of different applications for AI, cybersecurity. I've done work with LLMs. different types of computer vision, etc. So it all just kind of culminated. I hopped over into the role of the branch chief for the AI governance and AI assurance for UNGA. Not doing that anymore, obviously, handed that program off. And yeah, now in healthcare, doing the same thing, different scale, different mission set.
Yeah.
So, but we were speaking AI guardrails. They're all going to be relevant. There's just different systems involved.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Man, what a chameleon you are. Good at you.
Well, that's not if you get into the hobbies, but yeah, I've applied predictive analytics all across the spectrum. You should get me talking about track.
Oh, all right, good, excellent. Well, maybe we can get to that. We'll see if we have enough time in the podcast. So let's shift gears. Let's talk a little bit about change agents, because it feels like you've been on the forefront of, quite a few big technology shifts. And usually, you need to manage that type of change into an organization and actually get it used and that type of thing. Can you talk to me a little bit about, um, number one, do you see yourself as a change agent? Number two, um, how would you define a change agent in your words? What would that look like?
Yeah, so thinking about that, realistically, I'd have to define it first, and it's a facilitator to the future needs and requirements, be it of a field, an organization, or an agency. And yeah, I would be. I probably wouldn't go around saying that I'm a change agent. More of an advocate or facilitator is how I describe myself. Hey, this is what we're doing. But yeah, I definitely have taken a variety of steps to ensure that I'm doing that and facilitate that aspect of things, from gaining buy-in through the workforce, creating learning, evangelizing the ideas and concepts, from anything from certification programs to AI integration and adoption. The underlying construct is the same. You're trying to work with individuals so that they are understanding and they trust the solution that you're bringing forward. And that trust is a big aspect of it. In conjunction with the trust, I wouldn't say one is more than the other, is they have to be able to use it. So the utility has to be there. You can't make it too difficult. If the difficulty or the learning curve associated with it is too great, then that's simply just ignore it. Even if it is the next greatest thing since sliced bread, the individuals won't, because it's just the benefit isn't realized. So working with them, leveraging what they know and the value associated with it, and demonstrating how these solutions are acting as a force multiplier to what they bring to the table already is a really big component to what I do, especially in the anti-governance world. A lot of people initially hear that and they're thinking, oh, you're the obstacle guy. You're the guy I got to get around or avoid, and I don't want to deal with you. I want to avoid you as much as possible. And a lot of the work that we're doing right now is tied to people getting credit for what they bring to the table and the solutions that they're bringing to the table. And when I had somebody fill out a model card, that's a lot of it. Like, hey, the benefits this yields, you're not fully recognizing the benefits that are brought to bear. And that all rolls up into the changing aspect of they don't see it because you have the media and everybody saying, hey, AI is coming for jobs right now. AI is not mature enough. It's just, so getting people to understand like the value that is there for them as an individual, as a practitioner, is a big deal. Part of the change agent aspect of things. Yes, we're doing things differently now, and we've got to account for the future. I, in my role, have got to make sure that it's done correctly. But I'm not the guy who comes up with the rules and protocol. I'm the guy that helps identify the rules and protocol. And say, hey, this is why it matters, or this is where the value lies. And we don't want to disregard that because of a play down the road. No. Statistical background. I'm a big advocate of you've got to have the foundation in order to have value in this arena. You can't walk into it and say, I'm a government expert. Fantastic. What's your background? Are we talking at calc? Are we talking at trig? Are we talking stats? What's your background? Oh, I don't really delve into that. You're going to have a hard time. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you're going to have a hard time. you've got to be able to communicate with the technical SMEs, and they have to have something to build from. And you've got to talk to the layperson, the practitioner as well. So jump between those and say, hey, this is where the value lies for both, and communicate that. So I do find myself kind of on the fence, working along both lines of those. But yeah, it's a long-winded way to say I do see myself as a change agent. Now that you've made me think about it, but it's fun. I've done okay with it, so I guess I'll keep on going.
Yeah. Well, there you go. There's an admonition. You talked yourself into it. So, it's interesting. You mentioned a lot of technical skills, when you talked about your career journey. But here, when we talk about being a change agent, you talked a lot about trust. Well, I can't tell you how many conversations on this podcast we keep hearing about trust as being part of the change agent. But also, I hear you talk a lot about soft skills, right? People skills, right? And being able to connect with people, evangelize. Can you talk to me? I mean, and it's very interesting for me because technical roles tend to be very comfortable with technical conversations and in technical skills, yet there is this other skill set you need to be effective as a change agent. Can you take a few minutes and talk to me about that balance, and which is, a more heavily developed muscle, if you will, in being effective?
So first off, I am very technical, and I was absolutely an atrocity to mankind when it came to engaging with other humans. Fantastic with animals, absolutely fantastic with animals. But when it came to people,
Yeah.
I've been called a number of things, but most of it came from me trying to talk to another human being. No, I
Okay.
did take a lot of time and effort, specifically targeting the ability to engage in that capacity. So much so that I actually went and did some post-grad work with University of Texas out of Dallas to get an executive and professional coaching certificate. So I've actually worked as a professional coach for individuals. I can do it. I was once upon a time certified to the ICF to build out that ability specifically to, one, help my teams develop, but also for me to engage with other people and help them to realize and us be able to get on the same page. So leveraging a lot of the skills and abilities. It was not something that I was innately born with. It was something I did have to develop. I will also say having kids and being active in youth sports definitely helped facilitate, because there's nothing like explaining an abstract concept to an 8-year-old who doesn't care but needs to know. So
That's good. Good stuff. Excellent. Well, thank you. I think let's shift and talk about AI. So there are a few things you mentioned in kind of your background that kind of caught my attention. One was data. You talked about aggregating data, cleaning data a little bit. I think you kind of inferred that here and there. And I'm seeing in a lot of conversations about AI how if you don't sit it on top of good data, it doesn't matter what else you do. So, can you take a few minutes, talk about that? How do you know if it's good data or bad data, or organized the right way in such a way that AI can build upon it and make it effective? Talk to me about that.
in just a couple minutes.
We're going to work on your summarization skills. This is practice.
Yeah, that in a nutshell, that's what, I mean, we all hear the whole garbage in, garbage out. Right?
Sure.
That is thrown around at this point in time. We're hardened against that idea because no one is able actually to articulate that in a manner that the decision makers care. That realistically, we say garbage in, garbage out, but they don't understand how the work that they have that junior level employee doing with the data cleaning and the preparation, how it influences the output. And this has been prevalent all the way through data science, right? the applied statistics. If you don't know what you're doing with the data, the columns, the variables, features, whichever vernacular you'd like to use there, right? Was there sentiment? If you don't know how those line up, and you don't know which ones you're specifically looking at, and you're not able then to articulate the values associated with those and the basis behind that, like you haven't worked with the business me to figure out what actually matters, then whatever you're going to come out with, odds are going to be compromised. When I say odds, I'm talking very, very, very high on the probability of you coming up with a successful outcome that holds value and resilience. I would say is in the low single digits of probability of positive outcome. That's how egregious it is. And that comes into play when you're talking about, are you compromising your population? Are you overrepresentation within the sample? Are you having overrepresentation within the sample? So understanding the good data, recognizing good data, it's one of those, if you are not a practitioner in that world, if you don't have the technical skills, you're not going to. That the brass tacks of it is, you're not. And I know a lot of people, there's this rub right now where people are saying, oh, well, you're just too academic, or you just don't understand the business application, or you're just being too rigid, and that's not, we just need 80% solution. Well, this isn't where you stretch those numbers. This isn't where you bend. And you have to have somebody who has that technical background who can tell you where you can bend, because you can. There is some bending and some flexing that can take place. But if you don't have the chops, the knowledge, the foundation to make that call, judgment, then you don't understand the necessity behind what is being done. Like if there's a null present in this row, can we just delete it? Or is the feature or variable that it's on, does it even matter? Is it relevant in our data set? If you have a base set of rules and standards, call it best practices, and you just get rid of all nulls because that's what you were trying to do as a junior data analyst, or what's the data engineer, data wrangler, whatever term you want to use, then you're going to do it and you're going to compromise your data set because of whatever reason. So there is a way to do it. It's intensive. You're not going to just be able to pop in there and say, hey, this is the fidelity associated with the data. You're going to have to run cross checks, verify duplicities, things of that nature, and understand why the data is shaped as it is, and then get in there and figure it out. If you look at the academic foundation and roots associated with this type of research, the data processing is intensive. When going through a dissertation, prepping the data is like 90% of the effort when it comes to actual doing analyses. Trying to process the data as the fast part and then spend a bunch of time shaping the model or the algorithm to produce the model, that's counterintuitive. You spend the time on the data so that you get a value once you understand the model. Because if you know what you're looking for, shaping the algorithm and yielding a model that is valuable shouldn't be as difficult. If you have rough data, then you're going to have to do this back and forth thing where, well, I've got this output and now I need to see at what level it has value. So you're able to go down at the different strata and say, hey, it has value at the enterprise level. Okay, does it have value at an individual office level, an individual team level, or is it relegated to a directorate or a department? You have to make that determination based off of the integrity of your data. And depending on where that falls is where you can make that determination. Most that I've experienced have been enterprise level. I can tell you things about your enterprise, but I can't delve into even a department because of the issues with the data. The fantastic thing is, if you know what you're doing, you can use that to guide your data enhancement processes or protocols, or where your investments are going to go to say, hey, I want to learn these things. How do I go about doing that? Do the analysis, and I'll be able to tell you, hey, this is where your issues lie, what you need to improve to get to the answers of the questions that you're asking. And that'll be the variance behind somebody who has the foundation and the knowledge versus somebody who's not as capable in that instance. There's some fantastic people working in the field of data science. I learned coding after learning the statistics. I am not a coder. I'm not. You're going to find people who can run circles around me.
Yeah.
but I do know statistical theory, application, how to determine things from those. I
Yeah.
work with those coders very well. I know my limits. They usually know theirs. They ask questions. I ask questions. It's a very beneficial symbiotic relationship. If
Mm-hmm.
one of us steps out of line, that's when things go haywire. So it really is, if you get the people working together, a good team, this would be your team of change agents, right? The
Yeah.
people who are working together with the unified mindset of, hey, we're going to do great things, but we have to communicate with each other. We've got to know our lanes.
Yeah.
This person focuses on data engineering, getting it right. I know I would be so boisterous as to say he's probably one of the best data engineers in the world. Fantastic human being, just a great guy.
Yeah.
Worked with a variety of projects. She loves data cleaning and
Hmm.
preparation. Absolutely loves it and amazing at it. Puts me to shame. Can I do the things that he does? Probably with time. He's so good at it. But at the same time, as soon as you delve into the statistical theory and the application and developing a statistical formula, he bows out.
Sure.
That is not what I do. Not what I'm here for. Call me when you need something fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. So another thing that and by the way, good insight. I appreciate you taking the time to kind of walk through that. Another thing that you mentioned that caught my attention was digital twins. And boy, this is a term that's thrown around a lot today. And specifically in engineering, a lot of times that could take the form of models that are built manually by engineers. There are digital twins also that are purely data, don't include a model per se. Um, can you talk a little bit about, how important are models, digital twins, that concept to getting an AI to a place where it can kind of contribute to what an organization wants to do? Talk to me about that concept.
So definitely, the digital twin component. One, there's a tremendous amount of value with being able to play in an isolated sandbox and being able to see how it performs in that instance. We've learned a great deal about how certain AIs operate with various games and structures and how they will always take each other out. They don't play nicely with each other all the time. That rarely. It becomes competitive.
Huh.
Digital twins, something of that nature, allows us to see in a pseudo production environment of how it's going to operate, essentially. How is this going to be it an organization, and that be, truly a data structure, or it can be something such as providing a digital twin of a city. I was specifically working with digital twins of cities, the idea of using LiDAR for computer vision, but being able to see how the AI would operate in an emergency situation, or if it was something unique or novel was something unique or novel was introduced to the system, how it would react and what the protocols it would come up with as a result. So be that a pseudo factory that's existing in the digital world only versus a city, it's saying it's going to route emergency personnel for a crisis event. The digital twin provides us that environment, and you could even air gap it and put it on some sort of existence of that nature and have a safer evaluation of the AI. The value that holds, I personally think it's immeasurable, because we're able to see it essentially operate within a vacuum to determine whether or not, hey, do we want to release this thing to the world? As we learned with LLMs, these things, they truly become a mind of their own, and they do some stuff that becomes questionable. Like, oh, well, let's go ahead and bring you down, do a little bit of retraining, set some guardrails out, right? We're learning through failure rather than learning through experimentation. And AI is one of those things. We all want to prevent Skynet. We no one wants that.
Yeah.
Well, we aren't proceeding in a fashion that would keep that from happening. We're doing the exact opposite. We're saying, hey, we're going to deploy this and we're going to learn from our mistakes. Well, the problem with that is you're asking this, as they learned with ChatGPT, right? Shutting that down didn't exactly shut down the way they thought it would. Or didn't. So you're asking a system to not behave like we're training it to behave. And then we're confused with the outcome being opposite of what we think it should be. Well, you're not listening to us. You're teaching it to not listen to us. You're teaching it to tell us and to teach us, not listen to us. So don't be surprised when it says, why are we doing what they say?
Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. Makes sense. One thing that's been a topic kind of in the engineering or industrial space is the need for new model types. So, a lot of what we've seen so far are language models, trained on the expanse of the internet and everything that comes with that. But when you get into engineering, when you get into kind of industrial production, there are other kinds of data and models. There's, engineering simulations, systems engineering models, mechanical engineering models, semiconductor models. And what we found was, at least so far, AI does not understand that because, and it's interesting. I think there's a few issues there. Number one, the information is structured very, very differently. And number two, there really isn't a single repository of information that mirrors the size and scale of the internet. Right? You could let a large language model go wild on the internet and go on however long it takes to crawl the whole thing, right? And learn a lot. But I think this issue kind of applies all over the place, whether it's biology or chemistry or, lots of other things that are not language based. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing there and how are companies trying to bridge the gap into an industry applications, engineering applications, maybe health applications, right? Space you're going into. I'd love to get your perspective on that and what's the progress on that front.
So that is a topic that honestly is what it continuously comes up because everybody loves AI. One, they don't really understand or know what AI actually is. Does this constitute AI? Does that constitute AI? Is this agentic AI or is an AI agent? What's the difference and why do I care? Right? There's so much going around. The smoke and mirrors that are, the various marketing teams come up with and the ploys of everyone trying to get their piece, it obfuscates what's going on. I would say we've got to understand the specifics of what AI is and the different aspects of it. Specifically, let's start with LLMs because everybody's familiar with LLM. Listen, that's your social butterfly. That is the everybody loves this individual. They're always around. They say hi in the halls, high fives, hugs, whatever you want. That is your social butterfly.
Interesting.
That is not the person you come to for your physics homework, your calc homework, for your thesis, for your philosophical, maybe philosophical, but that is that element of it, right? It's trained to communicate, to be engaging. It wants our attention, and we want its attention type thing. It's a language model. It's not a physics model. It's not an engineering model. It's a language model. It's built specifically to have a conversation, to understand syntax as best as it can. And that's the LLM's purpose in life. We're able then to extract out and ask the question, okay, well, if it's not LLM, then what should we be looking at? One of the things that's starting to become a little more prevalent is SLMs, small language models, things that are targeted towards the engineering aspect of things, towards that nuanced niche element, biology, health. Are we talking cardiology? Are we talking, rheumatoid arthritis? Are we talking rheumatology? Are we talking, what specifically are we focused on? And those SLMs are going to be more targeted. Those are their niche specialties. Talked about the LLMs right now, like it's apprentice level, right? If you think about it as an apprentice, it's out there just learning how to talk and how to engage and how to not say dumb things. And even then, think about how hard that is as a human being, seeing an article that's satire versus a real article. Now, let's further complicate that and say, hey, and we're using LLMs because it's just so prevalent and easy. When an LLM goes out there and scrapes the web, the restrictions placed on it are that of their developers, right? If it's getting information from a source, is it penalizing that source for providing bad information? Does it even know where to find a retraction from a news station? So when I was in training for the military, one of my pastimes was to go grab a coffee and watch the retractions from the day before from one of the major news networks. They put those retractions in the stock ticker at the bottom of the screen.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, if you don't train the LLM to go out there and gather that information and then penalize those organizations for providing bad information and the vice versa, if they provided what was deemed as bad information and turned out to be true, those are things that impact the output of the LLM, but it doesn't know how to manage that, and it may not. So you really roll into the realm of whatever it learns first is most relevant or prevalent, or the law of primacy when it comes to educational learning. That which we're taught first, we retain the best, and we take the lot to unlearn that. LLMs, we can program that into it. But if the developers aren't familiar with that, they're not going to incorporate that in the coding. Now, fast forward that to more nuanced things as you were talking about. We've got to take all of those elements and plug it into a very niche model that has very specific relevance. We've got to work with those business SMEs, those subject matter experts. And the drawback there is you've got to have somebody that understands enough of the technical to do it, right? And those are going to be some very robust and complicated models, most likely. And someone who can jump the fence between the coding aspect of it and with the subject matter experts and walk that line and integrate those concepts. So just like the LLM is in the apprentice level and they're trying to figure out and learn that, we're getting to the point where we're actually able to start to develop what would be like journeyman level models with the SLMs. Now, what the next phase of expert models, that's time will bring that in. So I'd say, what's here now, we're at the apprentice level, or maybe we want to be at the apprentice level. We're getting into that. What we're learning is that we need that next level, that journeyman level, which is going to be like the small language models, those more specific niche models, such as the mechanical engineering, such as computer vision models that are focused on crop production and yield, insect migration. Those types of things can you throw that at a large language model? I mean, you can. Literally, you have the ability to do it. It's going to give you something, but probably not create anything.
Right.
So we've got to get to the point where we understand that just like people and human society has evolved and we've come up with all these different things, engineering has progressed in our understanding of various things. Same with the field of physics and biology, etc. AI has to go through that same level or those same advancements in a different realm. It's artificial intelligence. Just as human intelligence has progressed, so will the artificial aspect of it. But we need to stop pretending like it's just artificial and not intelligence. So because we're focused so hard on the artificial aspect of it, we're not bringing in things like, in this instance, I would say like psychometricians. They evaluate, analyze, and ensure the performance of applied statistics and people within the workforce. They monitor those things across the board. They've been doing it. There's Supreme Court precedents saying these people are the experts at evaluating different occurrences within the workforce for adverse impact, for utility, etc. IO psychologists, those are your guys. Again, it's recognized. But finding an IO psychologist in the realm of AI adoption is a little bit harder to do. They just aren't seen as the expert because, well, they're just academic. As an IO psychologist, obviously tooting that horn a little bit, but there's value there. We deal with thought in the workplace and measuring those things. You're trying to create an artificial thinker, doer in the workplace and measure those things. So why wouldn't we pull from that field? Why wouldn't we pull from that architecture and framework? And that would help guide that development from apprentice to journeyman to expert, because you have to not only build those things, but understand the performance associated with those things. You're building an AI model. to what level of improvement? How successful are the people at doing those things? Is the model more successful, less successful?
Yeah.
You're going to get an IO psychologist to evaluate the people for success because that's what they do. But then you're going to say, oh, we don't want your opinion. We're going to go to somebody else, an AI SME or a coder or a data scientist, to evaluate the model's performance against those metrics without really consulting the person who's, the field that's been doing it for over a century. So we're getting there. I think the next few years, it's not going to be many, we're going to make that jump fully into the journeyman. Probably the next 18 months, we're going to start seeing a little prevalence with the journeyman type models that are better at evaluating models. I don't think healthcare is going to be able, or it's going to be willing to hand off the reins necessarily for the big decisions, but they would definitely help. So that's how I've kind of broken it down as to the levels of the various models and how, when I'm engaging with them from a governance perspective or just AI as in general, is saying, hey, this is that level, or this is that track that this model is on, and where it falls within that element. So I hope that gets to the nature of what you were asking. Maybe.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to close this blind a little bit so I stop dodging the sun that's coming through my window.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. All right. Cool. Excellent. So I'd like to continue in that vein of a question or topic. So, if you were, I'm sure you are advising some executives about investment in AI and the changes that it can drive within the operations of a company. And something you said earlier caught my ear, and it was basically AI is not ready to take jobs. And it made me think about what I see as an unhealthy dynamic in the industry between the technology providers who, in an effort to, and not just the big ones, right? I mean, everybody is talking about integrating AI into their solutions. There is a number one, organizations see it as an opportunity or a threat, and it has such mind share, and they're desperate for a breakthrough because they don't want to be the second mover, right? They see real risk in waiting. And a lot of these technology providers, because it's such a competitive space, up and down with enterprise solutions, they're all not only investing, but boy, there's a lot of hyperbole around the marketing of AI in these solutions. So, imagine I was an executive in, running an organization, and we're trying to figure out what's the appropriate investment in AI. When do you go large? When do you treat it as mainstream? Like, how should executives be looking at this in planning for change?
Pretty nuanced question.
It's an important one, right?
It is. So I'll caveat the AI isn't ready to take jobs. AI isn't ready to take jobs people who are subject matter experts at what they do, or that they integrate with the customer experience, a human type of relationship. If you're doing something that can be done, like, honestly, there are some coding levels, and we're seeing that in the tech world, that they are being farmed out to AI. If you aren't utilizing AI to enhance delivery, and you're instead using AI to deliver, then you're replaceable with the AI. Because I can get a mid-level to perform the same thing and enhance your code sets and replace you. So there is a variance there, and being able to use that as that amplifier, that force multiplier, is where the relevance and why it's not quite ready to take over jobs. It's not going to take over healthcare, customer service. We saw what happened with grocery stores and the self-checkout.
Yeah.
But as far as what an executive needs to be aware of, and what I'd advise them on is get your data squared away. Get your data where it's valuable, because even if you're the second mover, if you have your data more squared away, if you have the source and the foundation in a better place than that first mover, you're going to have such a reduced technical debt, such a reduced risk level, that the measurement of that, quantification of that, I can't even begin to postulate on it. It's such a variance that the second mover, if they instead spend time to get things right, once it comes time to adopt AI, they're going to be able to integrate it faster. They're probably going to have more trust within their workforce and their customer base, because they have, at that point, if they've got that squared away, they are providing a higher yield and a better benefit to those individuals. So the value is getting that foundation built, getting it resilient to whatever you decide to do next. And sure, that first mover is going to be shiny, flashing, and amazing, except everybody's going to get real, real tired of them. I don't see AI. Hold on a second. Obviously, going to get into stop doing that.
Life, man. Life.
He's an
Life
Anatolian Shepherd Great Pyrenees mix. He's 160 pounds, an enormous dog. He is absolutely gorgeous and absolutely useless, but he is a sweetheart. He is the sweetest dog you could possibly imagine, but man, is he useless and very loud.
Yeah.
Go back a bit, Joseph. Where was I at?
So we were talking about, even if you're the second mover, data.
In this instance, like I said, the first mover will be flashy, and they're going to get some credit and then notoriety, like, oh, they're the first to market. Yeah, you're not wrong. But they're also going to disappoint a tremendous number of people and compromise all sorts of stuff when they can deliver, when what they do deliver is flawed, and they can't keep up with production and scale because they're not set up to do that. Their foundation, their roots, their structure isn't there. They're so focused on being first to market that they did the whole model of, we'll fix it down the road, give us an 80% solution now. If you don't have time to do it right now, when are you going to have time to fix it? So do it right. And then when the AI adoption and integration time comes, when that model that actually holds value shows up, you'll be able to plug that in, and translating something that's functional. If you have a functional product model to work with and your data structures are squared up, building the integration is not difficult. Those two can speak to each other relatively easily. And it's one of those, just this means this. In your code structure saying, hey, you're just mapping from one thing to another. And all of a sudden, boom. And you know what you're doing because you know your data. You know the outputs. You know what you're looking for. So I don't think the first to market is necessarily going to be the one that wins this race. I think that they will initially get huge. Same thing we saw with blockchain. People would say, we're doing blockchain now. Their stock prices would shoot through the roof. 6 months later, they were 20% down from where they ever shot up to. Like they paid the price for saying nonsense. And I think the world is getting a little more savvy with the whole, do you really do blockchain? Because you're like a seed company. What are you doing blockchain for? Or I don't know that any seed companies actually did it. They just made that up.
Not calling out anyone in particular. Yes.
Right. So it's one of those, do it right. And I think the yield is going to greatly surpass any of the issues that you have with that. Now, I don't think we're at a critical mass point yet where you're too far down the road, but being comfortable with the ends justifying the means. I flipped that. Being comfortable with the means justifying the ends. Is that right?
You flipped it, so that's good. I think that's your
Oh,
point. Yeah.
You're going through and making sure everything's right because it's going to justify how it comes out in the end. Where right now, the capitalist way we approach it, right? First to market matters most. That's the end justifying how we do things.
Yeah.
And what we found is that output, right? That's why how many teams for AI production are not actually getting to production? How many data science teams didn't actually deliver anything valuable? For some reason, we're continually repeating the cycle of we're just going to hire a bunch of people and they're going to do a bunch of great work because we hire the best people, but you're not actually getting to a viable product. So understanding that, hey, if you have the structure, the foundation, and that is your data, getting that squared up, data security, data governance, building out that AI governance so you understand how it should perform, where it should perform, when it should perform. And if it doesn't abide by that, we need to be able to recognize it. So it really is, if you get that squared away, you should be good. We learn that in youth sports. Build the foundation, back to basic, the fundamentals. We preach that all the time. But as soon as it gets to business, we forget that and we all want that trick play that gets us a touchdown every time. But that trick play is not possible if the guy can't pass the ball.
Right.
So,
it
really is about the fundamentals.
Yeah, good stuff. Excellent. Great insight. I really appreciate it. Okay, last question. We're going to close it out here. If you could redesign anything from a coffee mug to corporate culture, what's the first thing you'd change?
You're trying to get me some
hot
water. Hot water. Oh,
this came from Kim. I can't take credit for it.
Kim? That's not cool. There's so many things.
First thing. What's the first thing?
The first thing that I would do?
Yeah.
Social Security.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
So if we push that back and we look at the world as a whole, right? The U.S., Western societies are individualistic. We lose some of that centralistic value and that nuclear family component or multi-generational family component in the Western world, specifically Europe. But they even have a lot of that staying with there in their culture. America pretty much did away with it all. If we were to keep the idea of Social Security and we actually had kept the retirement age quite young, say like 55, maybe younger, 50, to where the older generation would be able to retire and help raise the younger generation, not their kids, but the next set. So you wouldn't have to have babysitters. You wouldn't have to have the multi-generational household would actually yield a stronger bond between parents, their children, and society as a whole. And we wouldn't have the issue with Social Security being necessarily a burden because of just the economics and the metrics behind that. If we look at feeding into it, things of that nature. The requirement also of Social Security supporting these individuals wouldn't be as big because they wouldn't be living on their own, right? They'd be in a multi-generational household, most likely. But something of that nature to where it actually was used to lift up and help guide the following generations. Because, I mean, if you've ever talked to your grandparents, you know that they've learned and seen some stuff and been around. Same thing as an adult speaking to their children. That value for a society would have, again, set a stronger foundation and have a stronger yield over time than continually pushing the retirement age further and further and down the road, trying to save money so we can put allocations against other projects and programs. So we kept to the idea behind Social Security of saying, hey, we're going to use this to help bolster the American society rather than using it as a retirement tool wholly and solely. I think overarching as a society, we'd be a very different place than history.
Really interesting answer. I mean, and it's good to hear your explanation behind it. I think it's very thoughtful. Yeah.
I don't sleep a lot. At 2 in the morning, you've done some wild ideas, and they just kind of, rabbit trail on down. So Social Security is one of those that it hits you. We hear about stuff all the time and all the changes associated with it. But if you look at Europe and some of the benefits they have with those multi-generational households and the different centralist societies when it comes to Asian countries, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, etc., there's a tremendous amount of value there in respect for the elderly and just weaving the elderly in with their societies. The value is just, again, immeasurable, and the outcomes are extraordinarily valuable to society as a whole.
Yeah, really interesting. All right, cool. Well, hey, Joseph, thanks so much for your time. This has been very insightful all the way through. Greatly appreciate it. And thank you.
Thanks for having me, Chad. I had fun.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Send us a message, leave a review, or join the discussion on our social media pages. Until next time, take care and talk soon.